Well, hey there, y'all. And hello to all the young men out there. And hello to all the old men out there. And, of course, the ladies. Although my audience is 85% male, I believe, something like that. This video is generally aimed at that audience, but I'm sure there's something that could be gained from females as well. This is actually a podcast I'm going to do. And I have several pages of notes and really wanted to get deep into this topic because it's something that has really come to the surface of social issues in the last few years. And before that, it wasn't even a blip on the radar. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, what are the problems that men face? I could name a few basic problems we all have. There's, of course, the fact that men generally are more endangered, die more often at work, um, end it quite more often than females do. And let's just say that nobody wants to hear from a white male living in the United States of America. What some would call a cis white male. Really tired of these terminologies. I'm really tired of the labels that people give, but that's just how it is right now. And it's always been that way, but the social media has really brought out the worst in a lot of us and pointing the finger at men and the patriarchy and how men have suppressed women for so long that tough shit, basically. Oh no, men have problems. I have seen so many. I stay away from the culture wars. I don't read, Twitter or Facebook or any of the comment sections. However, I do watch videos covering these topics. And there was a really good video that was done by, I think it's Shoe on Head or something like that. It's just this girl. I hadn't seen her before, but my wife actually sent it to me, and I watched it this morning. And she was going over many of the comments people leave when men say, like, I'm having a hard time, and I'm lonely. It generally comes down to the loneliness epidemic, which can manifest itself as depression, which in men can manifest in anger. When they do statistic analysis of depression, they say that females are like twice as likely to have depression than males. And the way I see it, that's complete bullshit. There's no way to gauge this other than to ask people. But men deal with their depression a lot differently than females do. Women have a way of consoling others as well as being consoled and really being able to be vulnerable with their emotions. Men, on the other hand, have never had that option, at least until recently. And any younger guys growing up that are, say, in your 30s or younger, you probably don't remember a time when people were saying man up, no matter who you were. Nowadays, it's something that's attributed to guys like Andrew Tate or the right, the extreme right. Be a tough guy and be masculine, and whether it be steroids or being the alpha male. I mean, there are guys out there who have alpha male in the title of their names. So and so, quote, alpha male. I mean, that has got to be the most non alpha thing I could possibly imagine, if even such a thing existed. The sad fact for a lot of folks is that they just want to feel like they belong. And especially young men who are lost, aimless, don't know where they're going. And social media has exacerbated this problem by convincing us that we need to achieve a certain level of financial success and security before a woman will even look at us. Now, I'm speaking from my perspective as a 48-year-old male who has been with my wife. We've been married for 10 years, but we've been together for going on 25 years. This will be our 25th year together. Met when we were in our early 20s, and she already had a son when I met her, so I helped her raise the son. He's my son as far as I'm concerned. But from that moment on, I had to be an adult. And I have two other kids that we had that are now 9 and 13, soon to be, or sorry, 10 and 13, soon to be 11 and 14. And they're all boys. Raising boys means that I have to share the things that I've learned being a man with my kids. And let me say, these things have changed over the years, but some of the very root, you know, the root behaviors that you need to carry as a man have come into question over the past several years. I'm going to get really deep into this when I do the podcast. I don't want this video to be too long, but I just wanted to let men know out there that you don't have to cater to anybody else's example of what being a man is. It's going to be different for each guy. However, there are some basic, there's some basic framework and some groundwork that has to be done before you can consider yourself secure and confident in your abilities to either attract a mate, be financially successful, or just be happy in general. And ultimately, that third one is what we're really after: the happiness, the contentedness, allowing yourself to be stoic and be comfortable with the life you live, regardless of your income, regardless of any of your life circumstances, whether they be good or bad. The most important thing, the number one most important thing to keep a man sane, is to have connections and community, friends, one friend, anyone you can talk to. Now, for a lot of guys, that may just be your spouse. For some guys, they may not have a spouse, but they may have a good friend. So they may be saying they're lonely, but at the same time having the ability to interact with other people, but choosing not to. Let me say, there are a lot of people who are lonely even when they're with their families and loved ones. It's a matter of how much we give to others around us and how much we're willing to receive and open up to each other. Men's issues are serious issues, and people have been putting them down as, especially some of the and I realize this is just social media, but some of the comments that females leave when men become vulnerable basically shut down men's desire to be vulnerable by saying things like, boo hoo, oh no, you're sad, tough shit, man up and deal with it. The kind of things that a guy doesn't want to hear. A guy wants to understand himself, and to understand yourself, you have to understand others. And for so many generations, men have been told to toughen up, get a job, do your work, put your life on the line, whatever it may be, take risks. It's just in our blood to be a little intense, let's just say. And that doesn't mean that all guys have to be that way. It just means that many are. And it tends to be something within us, the way that we operate, our testosterone. We like taking risks. We like doing things that may put us in danger. It's inherent within who we are. But these things don't make us a man. Really, it's a subjective term that means very little, if anything. The alpha male complex is really a bunch of guys who believe that they have life figured out better than other guys. And the way I judge, success in that era would be, or in that region of, being a man, would be longevity. If there's some 25-year-old guy telling everybody else how to be a man and what'll make you happy and what'll make you content in life, ask him at 35, ask him at 45, ask him at 55 and 65. It's like anything. Fad diets are a good comparison. They may work for a little while, but eventually it's not working anymore. And we go on to something different and realize, well, maybe there's something that was missing, an aspect of, something I was, or maybe our bodies change, right? But as we get older, our brains change. The way we see the world changes. And you start to look around and you don't see a lot of old men who brag about being alpha males, and that should tell you something. Most guys have grown out of that by that point. And but it doesn't mean that you can't strive to be strong, be tough, be resilient. This doesn't make you an alpha or better than other men. It just means that you've developed yourself in a different way, I guess. And with the feminism over the past decades and the way that it blew up, women finally had equality within the realm of, say, education and the workplace. It's interesting when I found out that, I think in the 80s or the 70s, men were, I think, 13% more likely to graduate college, or at least 13% more of college graduates were men. And we wanted more equality in the education space. And now we're there, and females have surpassed the ratio that males had before. I believe it's 15 or 16% more females. Women mature earlier, girls go through puberty earlier, and their brains develop earlier. Um, this is just evolution. This is genetics and the way it operates. It's not 100%, but generally women grow up a little faster, and therefore men feel like they're left behind. And it's not just that they're not maturing the same, it's that men have been naturally insecure with themselves from the time they were born, just like women. A guy may act tough. A guy may, I should say, well, you're not as insecure until you learn to be insecure. But there are plenty of guys out there who are really deep down sad inside. And I think this issue needs to be talked about a lot more. Men need to be able to listen to their emotions. My generation, Gen X, was the first generation, I believe, of men who in the 80s and 90s we were told to embrace our feminine side. It was a major thing, for guys to be able to be vulnerable. It's something I learned, a valuable tactic, to be able to talk about my issues with people. And I think of it as a strength, not a weakness. I cry when something makes me sad. I don't cry all the time, but I cry when I feel like I need to. I would never hold back tears. If I'm going to cry, I cry. It's amazing how many men would fight that. And this is programming by society and the standards of what other people deem to be a manly man. And it really comes down to, many of the frustrations we have come down to the way that we treat each other as men and women, but also the expectations of young men that things are going to be a certain way, that you're going to be an adult and then all of a sudden you're going to get married and have kids, or meet just the right woman. And I feel like there's quite a sense of entitlement in a lot of young men. I would say steer clear of the incel crowd and the MGTOW crowd, or the men going their own way. Look, if you're a member, you're part of that group, and you go to message boards and you talk about the problems you have and how women are toxic and this and that, that's not going to solve anything for you or others. It's important that we look inside and realize that, yes, part of society is shunning men and making our problems seem like they aren't serious problems. But there's another side to that a lot of young men don't want to put in the effort to actually be a fucking man, to step up to the plate when they need to be able to defend themselves against, whether it's physical or mental attacks, to be able to stand up for others, and to be able to have a good work ethic, to actually do some physical labor once in a while, to really feel like you're putting in your all. And hey, I'm guilty of not always being in that state of mind. It's, I look down on myself in a lot of ways for things that I could have done, that I would have done or should have done or could have done differently. But in the end, all I can do is take those things I've learned and say, haha, I'm going to improve as time goes on, and try to redeem myself from my earlier failures. But I just want to give another one quick brief point. Turn off the damn phone. Turn off your notifications. Don't don't spend too much time reading social media, Twitter, Facebook. These things are important because what we have is this idea of how the world really is. If we spend as much time out there just walking to the park or talking with other people in person as we do reading what other people are saying behind their keyboards, I think that we're healthier and we're happier. I mean, the first thing most people do when they get up in the morning is go right to their phone, go to the social media apps and see what people are saying. And hey, I'm not pointing the finger. I'm just saying this is probably a healthier choice. For me, I don't keep apps on my phone other than YouTube. and I don't use the notifications. I shut all notifications off. I don't get any of them. Emails either. I don't check my emails more than once a week, probably. I don't need to, but if I'm expecting one, that's different. The point is that, yes, I use the internet just as much as a lot of people, but I try to focus on educating myself, improving myself, and looking at things that I can actually benefit from and help to benefit others around me, because ultimately, I want my family to be happy. It's not just happy wife, happy life. It's happy family, happy life, happy friends, happy life. My my two of my good friends, Scott and Kevin, we were talking about this the other day. My buddy Kevin's like, he was talking about how he's glad that we're friends. I've known him since he was 12 and I was like 13. We were 14 or something. We were really young. We used to go hop trains together and go travel, go to dead shows and party out and go to the train tunnel and hang out with the older guys at the train bridge and drink beer and do all the things that teenage kids did. Often you grow away from those people. Some of the people I was tightest with as a teenager, my friends, male friends, we grew apart, or they're not around anymore. But a couple of my friends are, it's like gold. I have like 3 or 4 friends that I have from school that I still interact with. And Kevin was saying that having a relationship, a friendship, takes maintenance. I can't recall the actual terminology he was using, but he was saying that you have to, continue to feed and, nurture a friendship. And it's hard. We might talk every day for a while, then we might not have talked for a few years. It's happened back and forth, and we'll see each other again. But having some friend, one friend, a male friend, as a male, that I can talk to about things, I think that's just priceless. When I have something that I need to unload, something that really is important to me or that's bothering me, instead of saying man up, my buddy can be like, hey, I've had hard times like this too. Just think of it this way. And I need that, just like all the rest of us do. So I guess what I'm saying is, for the young men out there, put yourself in an environment where you're going to interact with people who will support you, and don't put yourself in situations where you have to prove yourself as a man to anybody else, especially another man. It's not about that. It's not about being an alpha. It's not about being tougher. It's not about a cage match between 2 dudes to see who comes out bloodiest, less bloody. Um, there are some ludicrous examples of what being a man means, and as I said, that's subjective. But my advice to any young men out there who are struggling is find a friend. And I know that's not easy. I'm not saying go out and just get a friend, but expose ourselves out there in the world. And if you're looking for a female, a companion, you've got to do the same thing. These dating apps are just not conducive to finding a good relationship. We're dishonest online a lot of the time, and people will post things that are total nonsense. And meeting people in person, there's just something about that vibe that you get from them. But people are afraid. They're afraid to go out and expose themselves. They're afraid that they're going to be rejected. Don't be afraid of rejection. Just do you. Nothing is lost by making an effort. But we shouldn't have high expectations. This idea of the Chads out there, the Chad syndrome, where the Chads are the tough guys, the guys that are perfect and that they have everything given to them and they look good and they're strong, and people use that as a way to say, look at me, I'm weak and I'm ugly. And I mean, there's scales of looks for men. I've seen videos where they're rating a man's looks from 0 to 10. Fuck you. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You know? I've seen some people who might be ugly to others, but they're not to me. It's very subjective. Sure, there is a certain standard of beauty, but the truth is, if you're beautiful inside, you're going to find somebody who respects that beauty. It doesn't always have to be outer looks. And the extent to which we go, men have been even breaking their legs and putting in extensions to be 2 inches taller. That really broke my heart, to realize that that was more common than I thought. Men actually going and having surgery to make themselves taller to feel like they're more attractive. It's sad. It's really sad. So this is already a long video. Didn't expect it to be 20 minutes, but when I do the podcast, I'm hoping I can cover all these topics. If you want to hear the long version, you can check it out at 15-minute free thinking. Should be in the description. I haven't uploaded it yet or made it yet, so I'm going to go do that shortly. But I like doing podcasts, but I like doing videos more because I can look you in the eye, man to man, if you will, and say, it's okay. Especially if you're young. You know, I can understand being frustrated when you're older, in your 40s or older, but you know, if you're in your 20s, don't sweat it, man. We all go through some really hard times. We might not meet the person for a long time, and 5 years might seem like an eternity when you're a teenager, but it's like goes by in a freaking flash when you're my age. And the older I get, I'm sure the faster it will go. So nurture the friendships you have, interact with people who empower you and make you feel good, and tackle subjects and things and jobs that you enjoy, not just for the sake of making a bunch of money. Fuck the hustle culture, the multi-level marketing crap, and all these courses every guy like Andrew Tate wants to sell you on how to be a man. And it's like Jordan Peterson and his 12 rules for life. I think the 12th rule is never interrupt a kid when they're skateboarding. Look, I understand the intention behind this. But it's not, it's just some basic bullshit. You can read books, you can watch videos, you can listen to other men, but the best thing you can do for yourself as a man is to reach deep down inside and say, what do I value in life? And how can I nurture that and share that with other people? And if you're confident with yourself, that's good looking by itself. Anyhow, man up, folks. Talk to you next time. And I wanted to say thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you very much. And leave a comment and a like, and I'll see you all next time.